All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 119. And today, some nonsense has happened, and it has inspired me. So, I don't even remember when this came out. I have to look this up. Who's who it's... Okay, so, 2013. Movie comes out. It's called Now You See Me. And the premise for the movie is actually kind of interesting. Basically, instead of the idea of like, what if magic was real? The premise for the movie is, what if magicians robbed a bank? Is effectively what it was. Because a lot of the techniques that magicians use are the exact same techniques that scam and con artists use. Mostly because they're very effective techniques for tricking people. And that's what magic is. Magic is meant to be I can't think of the word. Magic is full of tricks. Consensual. There we go. Magic is wow. I forgot the word consensual. That's not good. Magic is meant to be consensual deception. Is what it is. You are going into a place to see if you can get them to trick you, so that you don't understand exactly what happened. That's what magic is. Scams and con artists are unconsensual tricks and deception. And so the whole premise of Now You See Me is these magicians are going to basically commit a bunch of crimes, and they're going to use magic to do it. But it's not like, these magicians get together and they're robbing you. No, they're doing it as part of actual stage shows. Like, it's not like they're just, we're going to go in, we're going to rob this bank using our magic skills. No, they're doing actual shows that people pay to be at, and they're using magic to, like, rob banks and empty people's bank accounts and frame people for grand theft and stuff like that. It's a really silly movie, but it's a good time. It's not a great movie, but it's still a good time. And the fun part about it is they actually use a lot of properties of magic, taken kind of to an nth degree. Like, the stuff that they do in that movie, like the magic tricks that they do, are like this close to being tricks that could actually happen. And there's actually, there's an episode, I can't remember who does it on YouTube, but they'll have like an expert kind of review things in movies. And they had Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller come on and review a bunch of scenes of magic in movies. And one of the scenes that they did was from the original Now You See Me, because the trick that they were doing is a classic escape trick. Where you have someone, they are, tied up, or in this particular instance, they were chained up and handcuffed, and then they were put into this tank and trapped at the bottom, and they had like a minute before a bunch of piranhas would be dumped in there. And Penn goes, "This is a legitimate trick. Like this is a trick that a lot of different magicians do. It's a great trick." And the kind of ending of the trick, spoiler alert, is the piranhas get dumped into the tank because something goes wrong. And then as soon as the piranhas get in, the tank just becomes completely red with blood. And we're like, oh no, we've just watched someone get eaten alive. And then the person that was in the tank just appears in the audience. And Penn Jillette goes, this is a real thing. Like this is genuinely a real thing that happens in magic. Where you do these escapes. And the best thing about appearing in the audience is nobody looks at you. nobody gives you a second thought because they are trying to see, like they're looking for the trick on stage. And by the time they're looking, trick's already happened. And you can literally just walk right into the crowd. And then spotlight hits you and everybody turns and you're magically there. It's a real thing. So Now You See Me, fun movie, not a great movie. And they do some things in there that just don't work that way. But it's Hollywood, so you can do it. They made a sequel. Now I know what you're thinking. The name of the first movie's Now You See Me. Name of the second movie, it's got to be Now You... Nope, it's Now You See Me 2. Because that was a smart thing. Now You See Me 2 is a bad movie. There is no other way to explain it. It was bad enough that in the first movie, they had the four magicians, who were called the Four Horsemen, were Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, and Isla Fisher. And they were really, really good. They were really, really good. And again, it's a fun movie. For the second movie, Isla Fisher goes, screw this shit, I'm out. And they had to replace her with Lizzie Kaplan, who I'm not particularly familiar with a lot of Lizzie Kaplan's work. Like, I believe she was in Mean Girls, and I know she's done a bunch of other things. But in this particular movie, she wasn't great. Dave Franco spent the time to at least look like he knew what he was doing when he was doing, because each one of the Four Horsemen had their own kind of specialty that they did, kind of. Dave Franco was a street magician, so he very much was into sleight of hand and pickpocketing and things like that. For those of you that don't know, one of the really, really common tricks in street magic, they don't even hide it. One of the extremely common things to do in street magic is to steal shit from the people that you're doing magic on. And then as the trick is going on, you just give them their shit back and they go, wait a minute, how did you do that? I've watched him take ties off. I've watched him take belts off. I've watched him take watches. I've watched him steal wallets and stuff like that. So that's Dave Franco. He's kind of your traditional rogue in D&D. Woody Harrelson's character is a mentalist. Mentalism is actually a fascinating form of magic because there's a lot of psychology that goes into mentalism, because mentalism in and of itself, first of all, isn't real, but it uses a lot of psychological tricks to make you think that they're able to do things that they actually can't. So I'm actually a big fan of mentalism in general, just because, again, it's a very kind of intellectual style of magic. And when it's done well, it looks really, really impressive until you find out how it actually works. And you're just like, oh, that is the dumbest thing ever. How did I fall for that? So he's a mentalist and a hypnotist. And his character is probably one that they get the most magic wrong about, because he has this magical ability to be able to hypnotize people over the phone. He's able to hypnotize them instantly and stuff like that, which isn't how hypnotism works. Hypnotism is a real thing, and outside of the entertainment industry, it's actually used in therapy a decent amount. The other thing that's kind of interesting about hypnotism is not everyone can be hypnotized. You have to have a very special kind, or not, I guess, a special kind of brain makeup. There are a few people that hypnosis just doesn't work on for one reason or another. And there's certain people that can be hypnotized at some times and won't be hypnotized at other times. And I've been to a hypnotist show and I've seen hypnosis happen. I myself have never been hypnotized. I think because of my damaged brain and everything like that, I think I'm probably one of those people that probably isn't really good as a subject for hypnosis, because, again, I have hypervigilance and all this other bad shit going on in my brain. So my brain doesn't work the way that normal brains work. So I would assume that would probably make me a little bit harder to hypnotize, because hypnosis works on, common triggers and stuff like that. So that's his. Jesse Eisenberg's character is kind of your stage magician. where they do big things and they have the big production and they have customized sets and stuff like that they use to do this big stage magic. And then Isla Fisher is the girl. I didn't say it was a great movie. I said it was a fun movie. Okay? And Isla Fisher and Jesse Eisenberg. Apparently, Isla Fisher used to be Jesse Eisenberg's assistant in the universe here, and then she breaks off on her own. And again, she does very similar stuff to Jesse Eisenberg. It's just she's the girl instead of a boy. It would have been cool if they gave her her own kind of magic too, but no, that's not how it works. So, so each one has their own the thing, and they come together to create this super cool show, and they do this stuff, and then they find out that maybe magic is real, and that's how the first movie ends. The second movie starts because they get to join this organization known as the Eye, who are the keepers of real magic. The second movie opens up, and it came out 3 years later in 2016. Second movie opens up. They've been sitting on their asses for a year doing jack shit because the Eye told them to. And this is where the movie goes off the rails, because they introduce Lizzie Kaplan's character, who's now the girl horseman, and she actually does have a specialty, which is basically kind of gruesome magic, like chopping limbs off, stuff like that. Which again, a real kind of magic that is performed, like the Amazing Jonathan did very similar stuff. Only he was funny, and it goes crazy from then on in. They try to kind of retcon all the stuff that happened in the first movie and try to show that the bad guy was actually a good guy and all these other things. And the magic gets even crazier, doing stuff that magic can't do. Like, in the first movie, you're sitting there going, wow, can magic do that? I mean, not really. It can get kind of close, and there are ways to kind of simulate most of the stuff that they did. But there's a few things that are like, no, that's just not possible. That's just, like, stage magic can't do that. That's not a real thing. Now You See Me 2 was just nothing but, no, that's not how magic works. That's not, like, they get hypnotized by going down a slide is how they get hypnotized. Because that's a thing. And then they're hypnotized so well that they're able to be flown halfway across the world to the other side of the planet and have no idea it happened. Because that's how hypnotism works. And it just gets worse from there. Oh man. Cool premise, broken by Hollywood going, well, we have to be bigger and more amazing. Well, they just released, like a few hours ago, a trailer for the third movie in the series. You want to know what the third movie in the series is called? Now You Don't! Finally! They do it. Maybe it's because they always intended it to be a trilogy, and so they're like, Now You See Me 2! We can't call it Now You Don't because they'll think that the series is over, despite the fact that it's taken nearly a decade for us to get the third movie out. Isla Fisher's back, which is nice, because I liked her better than Lizzie Kaplan. But oh dear God, it's worse than before, because now, spoiler alert, now what happens is there's these new four horsemen who are these new young kids, including the sorcerer from the Dungeons & Dragons movie, which is a significantly better movie than it's looking like Now You Don't is going to be. So he's in there, and then these three other actors I've never seen before. Doesn't mean they haven't done anything, I just don't recognize them. And then they meet Jesse Eisenberg. They're like, oh my God, we're a big fan. He's like, now you are my horseman, blah, blah, blah. And then they slowly introduce the rest of the original team. Like Woody Harrelson shows up, and Dave Franco shows up, and Isla Fisher shows up. Like, oh, that's cool. And they're doing just complete nonsense that has nothing to do with stage magic in any way, shape, or form. But they're claiming it's like, oh, we're all stage magic, so now we're going to steal a diamond. And It's just so upsetting, and I'm going to watch it. I am going to watch this god awful movie. I'm probably going to watch it multiple times because I can't stop myself. I don't know why. I've mentioned this before. One of my thank you, phone. One of my favorite movies ever is a god awful movie. It is just a bad movie. It's called The Core. It's got Aaron Eckhart in it and Hilary Swank and Chike Kayol, whom I loved. If you don't know who he is, he's a French actor. If you ever saw The Patriot with Mel Gibson, he played Lafayette in that. But he's a brilliant French actor, and he's done a decent amount of American cinema. But I think he works a little bit more in France. But he's a brilliant actor. And so, who else is it? Stanley Tucci's in it, which is so funny because he plays just the most condescending prick in the world. And I can't remember the actor who plays the last part of this crew. But the movie is just god awful. It's really, really bad because the core of the earth has stopped spinning and that's going to end the world. And so they get into this giant phallic object to drill into the center of the earth to set off a bunch of nukes to restart the earth's core. And the science is so bad in this. Like, the scientific community had to make statements going, nothing in this movie is even close to scientifically. It's not even scientific theory. It's not like they found this paper somewhere and went, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if that was a real thing? No, they just made shit up. And a lot of the scenes are just hilariously bad. I think, who is it? DJ Khaled, is that his name? Is in it as well. Like, it's a bad movie. I love it. I've seen it dozens of times. I've purchased the movie. I used to rent it for $1 a piece over and over and over again on my PS3 because I had $1 and I would just rent this movie, and I realized I had rented it so many times that it was just cheaper for me to buy the damn thing. So on my PS3, it is still on my PS3 hard drive. I can watch this god awful movie. I think I own it on Amazon Prime as well. It's just an awful movie. So I'm going to watch Now You Don't. I own Now You See Me and Now You See Me Too. I recently rewatched both of them. I regretted rewatching Now You See Me Too, but I did it. And I'm going to watch this just absolute train wreck of a movie. But it got me thinking, what if there was a stage magician class in a TTRPG? Yes, it has taken almost 18 minutes to talk about, but this isn't a thing that exists in tabletop RPGs anywhere. As far as I've been able to find, I have never found a class-based RPG that has a stage magician, either class or subclass, because stage magic is extremely less exciting when real magic exists. Things like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. You go, look, there's nothing in the hat. And then, whoo, look, I pulled a rabbit out. In the world of D&D, they'd go, yeah, you've got a portable hole in the hat. Or it's a hat of holding. So when you look at it, there's nothing there. But when you reach in, you think about what you want, you just pull it out. That's like super easy. Or making your assistant vanish into the air. That's an invisibility spell. Or she cast Dimension Door. Or Misty Step. Like, there's lots of... This is stupid. My, 10-year-old nephew who's in magic school can do everything you're doing on stage. So it's just not something that exists. But I had this idea for a film or a book or something where a stage magician either gets isekai'd into a world that magic is real in, or just gets involved and they find out, oh, magic is real. But because magic is real, they're used to magic working the way that magic does. And so these real sorcerers are trying to fight, and they keep getting counterspelled and all this stuff. However, the dude that is a stage magician goes, why are you guys doing that? We can just do this. And they go, why would you do that when the spell is this? It's because you can't counterspell this, because it's trickery and sleight of hand and suggestion and things like that. And so the stage magician has to save the real magicians, because they're so used to relying on their magic, and the rest of their enemies are so used to magic being real that when someone starts using stage magic, which isn't real and is just a bunch of deception and lies and things like that, they don't know how to deal with it. I think that would be an amazingly fun movie to watch. Like that would be so much fun. I would go broke watching that movie. So I got the idea, well, what about a tabletop RPG? Could we make a stage magician class? Now, the easiest way to do this, because so much of stage magic is, again, things like sleight of hand and misdirection and other things like that, it would be very, very easy if we were to make it in like D&D 5th edition to effectively just make a subclass for either rogues or bards. To make a stage magic subclass. And I'm pretty sure somebody has tried that somewhere. No one has done it officially. Like there's never been like a big third-party book or any first-party material I'm aware of where they've made a stage magic subclass. But if we were to make an entire class which is all about stage magic, from a kind of game design mechanical perspective, what would we need to do? Well, first of all, if this is going to exist alongside wizards and sorcerers and the things like that, it has to act differently than them. Because otherwise, if everything that the stage magician can do can be replicated for real using magic, there's no purpose for the stage magician. But again, stage magic isn't about making actual objects disappear. It's about tricking people into thinking they're not there. And so if we were to create this class, it would be a control-based class. And I think it would be kind of akin to an artificer, because a lot of people, well, I guess some people now, not as many as used to. A lot of magic is technology. Like magicians used to be at the absolute forefront of technology, because they would invent these things that made it possible for them to do things that shouldn't theoretically be possible. So a stage magician kind of inventing their own tricks and things like that. Like one of the tricks in Now You See Me Too that's completely impossible. The way that they do it is there's a trick that you can buy in most magic shops, and what it is it's a little thing that makes water rain upwards. It makes water drip upwards, and that's actually not what it's doing. What it is doing is the water is coming down at a set interval, and there's a strobe light, and what it does is the strobe light flashes in a particular pattern so that your eyes can only see the water at certain points. And if it strobes in the exact right pattern, it will make it look like the water is dripping upwards. And so now in Now You See Me Too, Jesse Eisenberg's character does that using rain machines on the street, which wouldn't work. Like there's too many people there that would block the strobe lights and the things like that. And then at the end of his magic trick, he like falls backwards onto the concrete and just vanishes, which isn't a thing that can happen with a real magician. Like you in order to vanish like that, you have to actually build a contraption that allows you to fall through the floor. And in general, you can't have the audience looking exactly where you're going to fall, because he was doing it with people all around him. So that, again, never would have worked. But the idea of a stage magician character class, I think would involve them uh, creating a few different devices that give them effects. And by mixing different effects, they can create tricks, and each trick does something different. So maybe they have one device that allows them to obscure someone using mirrors or something. So, like a vanishing device that gives them the vanishing effect. And then they have another device that gives them the ability to project an image in some way, shape, or form. And this is something that magicians have been able to do for centuries. It used to be done using glass and mirrors and light, where you could project things using glass and mirrors and angles and things like that to make people look like they were standing in places that they weren't, or make people look translucent and stuff like that. So it's not like they need electricity and projectors and all this stuff. No, they can just do it with a light source and glass and mirrors. And so they could combine those two effects into a decoy trick, where they could basically make one of their allies appear as if they're somewhere else, and any of the enemies that fall for the trick will waste their turns attacking something that doesn't exist, and kind of go on from there. You know, another effect they might have is just simply being able to sleight of hand something off a person, or put something on a person, you know, and combine that with. So that's basically the base mechanics of the class would be these are effects that you can learn. You can combine them into various tricks, and that would be the thing that makes the class interesting. Is, well, if we do like a surprise effect, where you do the surprise effect, and the effect of it is it causes the person to move in a certain direction, because that's a real thing. Or it forces people to look in a certain direction, because that's a real thing. I think that could be an interesting class. And as the class gets to higher levels, they start off with maybe their tricks can only involve one or two effects at base level, and then as they get higher levels, they can not only do they learn more effects, but they also can combine more effects into tricks. And the limitations can be some of the more powerful effects require like maybe a setup time or something, because again, using mirrors and stuff like that, you can't just go mirror and it appears unless you're a real magic magician, you know, unless you have real magic, and these people don't have real magic. So yeah, like I said, I thought it would make for an interesting character class. It would be almost exclusively control focused, to where they don't deal a whole ton of damage, but the amount of control you could have if you were a stage magician in a world of real magic, I think could be fun. Interested to hear from you guys. First of all, are you fans of the Now You See Me series? If you are, I apologize. I am one of you, and I'm sorry for you. And then two, what do you think about the idea of a stage magician class? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, again, it's all for today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.